All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Koyomimonogatari, episode 7. We got Karin last episode.
Half the Fire Sister troop, and now we're probably getting the next one.
Which means...
Tsukihi.
Which means we're getting back to that OP with the dance that we totally didn't remember when Aragi did it later in the show. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, Tsukihi has really grown on me since the beginning of the show.
Definitely me as well, yeah.
Her wisdom is very much appreciated. Mm-hmm. I am excited to see what new wisdom she will impart upon her Oni-chan in this episode.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if she's one of the characters, though, that doesn't necessarily overemphasize the oddity potential of some kind of abnormality, because she seems like the person that wouldn't necessarily jump to those conclusions then.
She does know how to be subtle and...
Right. Things. But then if it is something that would be like that, wouldn't it have to be something rather unique in order to,
potentially, be
something like that?
Maybe it'll be related to the Phoenix situation.
Possibly.
Maybe.
But y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, we're going to be starting the episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
Do you think we're going to get a new hairstyle for Tsukihi?
Possibly. I don't think there necessarily has to be one, but if there is, then I would almost expect there to be like 2, It's been a while since we've heard her, describe her platinum feelings,
Yeah.
Discotheque? What was that? Huh. Koyomi tea instead of Koyomi tree. New hairstyle. Oh. Obake. Wait. Yeah, why? Yeah.
Okay.
Like, why did it leave? Whoa.
Okay. But what if she saw the ghost?
Defend thyself! Oh, so fast. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, put that away. Yeah, we'll talk normally. That was a terrifying face. Yeah.
Okay.
All the things stacked on each other. But people... This is cute.
All right.
Yeah. But people just flat out ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, I love it. Sounds like you don't have a ghost problem. It sounds like you have a problem with your friends in the tea ceremony club being bakas. But they still... Yeah. Yeah, you can't change people's mind if they don't want to have their mind be changed. I like having Araragi in the audience just being like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But that has nothing to do necessarily with the... Yeah. It's the fact that you're forcing the question. Yeah. Yeah,
I love the mine shaft through the books.
But like that happens more often than not by like a lot. Yeah, nothing to do with it.
Siding with cute girls, or
Wow. That's quite dramatic, but yeah. But yeah.
of course.
Yeah, no, that's not necessary. Right. Oh. Oh. Oh, that's wonderful.
Sure.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
I see.
Okay, yeah. It's cool.
All right.
No. That's kind of cool because it's like she's falling also for what Araragi is saying in some ways as well. Yep, exactly,
right.
exactly, yeah. So
Cool.
That's a cool episode because it was more about the relationship between Tsukiji and Koyomi. You know, it's about the two of them basically having their little bonding moment over this. And like, oh my God, we've all had that experience where you're in a group of people that are willingly holding on to a delusion of sorts. And you're like, but wait, we have obvious evidence to the contrary.
Yeah, I'm making sense here. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And it's weird because whenever you put that kind of thing out there, you can end up really quickly getting subsumed by the crowd if you end up believing that you're the odd one, you're the crazy one, you're the one that's bringing in the actual thing. And you're like, wait, but too many people are disagreeing with me, that I must be wrong.
Right.
And yet, on some level, there's a reason why I feel like we hyper focus on certain things that are logically correct, but drive us away from the masses specifically, who are participating in the mass delusion of sorts.
Okay.
And it's interesting to talk about because then you can end up in situations where, like, you might not know when you're the one that's deluded.
Right, because how can you? Because otherwise you wouldn't be.
Well, right, but you have no one else who's coming to you being like, here's the evidence to the contrary, you know. All right, this was a really cool episode.
Yeah.
Tsukiji ends up stumbling into a situation that all of us on some level have experienced.
At one time
or another growing up, or not even growing up, just sometimes with adults. And that's actually the part where it's the most jarring. In fact,
frustrating.
Oh, super frustrating. But thankfully, as adults, you've probably had enough life experience that you realize that you don't have to spend time with people that are living in delusion. So you can just distance yourself from it, and it's the best way in some ways that you can help them, because then you don't become someone that's going to add to their own delusion in and of itself. But then we also got the area in which Araragi, or Koyomi, he is very much being the helpful kind of specialist in this regard here.
Right.
But he is specifically not trying to give her the tools by which she can convince the other people that she's right. He is trying to calm the frustration, the frustration, and in some ways the
indignance at the injustice.
Yes, exactly, exactly. The frustration that she's like wanting to like unleash on whoever really is in her path at this point. So he's like he said to Kambaru or to Suruga, he's not wanting to placate her. He's wanting to. He's wanting to help calm her emotional state right now, which is something that's, I would say, rather honorable as a brother to do, because there are times when I've been in this situation where, like, I didn't have anyone immediate to basically help with this kind of nonsense that was going on. There was one time when I was growing up where a friend of mine was very, very willfully perpetuating a lie to a friend of his. And I couldn't convince the other person that they were being lied to. I couldn't basically catch the guy in the act lying, and I couldn't also convince the other person via my evidence and my little, it was more circumstantial evidence, my more like specific logic that this person was, manipulating them. They were using them. They were specifically setting them up to be basically the butt of their joke and of their they were close friends. And it was frustrating because I was like, oh my God, why do people like hold on to things that are just clearly wrong?
And you and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing you got more frustrated at the person who wasn't listening to you
than actually the person that was lying. Yeah, what I ended up being kind of told in a lot of ways was that one of the things that people will do quite often, and it's not as malicious really as you'd think, is that a lot of people just lie. They're not necessarily trying to willfully manipulate the person as well, but they're doing things.
The 27 lies we tell every day.
Exactly,
kind of
the exaggerations, the little bit of extra info they put into something to make their story seem more valid.
The bullshit excuses.
Exactly. Those kinds of things are something that people do all the time. And for a lot of people, it is easier to not confront the person on something that's not that big of a deal to them because they actually really enjoy the connection, the community, the added benefit of being a part of the whole with either that person, that group, or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's a really it's a really like divisive topic. I've had many discussions on it, and people are all over the spectrum on this one. Like it's
and even admitting that is a thing that happens.
Oh yeah. Not even really being like that's a thing. They're like, oh no, I'd never do that. Yeah, when these are the same people that would willfully like spread the idea that the Earth is flat. Like, like I mean, that's a far end of the spectrum. But that's the types of ways this can manifest. It can manifest in little white lies that you might think are willful manipulation, which I still think it kind of was in some ways, but it could also manifest in a way where they're like, no, I'm actually the one that's right. I've found the truth and everyone else is in the delusion. And it's crazy.
Right. Where it gets to the point where there's enough self-delusion that it's not even intentional at that point.
Oh yeah. No, it's not. They're lost in that regard then.
But one of the things that I thought was really cool that we got from Suki this episode, because, as a part of the Fire Sisters, right, she has a very strong sense of justice.
Yes,
and she sees something that doesn't seem right and it frustrates her.
Yeah.
But usually when we see things that frustrate her, it's very well contained.
Yeah, like because she's got a good sense of balance when it comes to when it comes to certain things
in her own way.
Yeah.
Because she has the whole thing of threatening violence against Koyomi, right? That's nothing new, right? When she saw him in the bath with Shinobu, and she saw the toothbrush scene, she's
exactly where you are.
Right, exactly. But it was still something where on the outside she remained restrained, right? It was the chaos and the frustration and the turbulent emotional state didn't reach her face.
It was a calm wrath.
A calm wrath, exactly. Yeah, right. But still wrath.
Yeah.
But in this episode, and it was like she was given a bunch of focus for this. It was all over her face, right? And it was changing.
Yeah,
like that.
The way the visuals portrayed her reactions to a lot of the things that Araragi would say, it got really, really, really intense. And it was one of those things of where you could see almost in some ways how when they make these kinds of faces, the characters stop even looking like themselves in a lot of ways. Like they'll literally start to look like, wait, with that little bit of, that other character in there, that amount of frustration and stuff. And this is something that makes sense that Tsukiji would be the most, I would say, frustrated by of the cast just in general. Because a lot of the other characters wouldn't you know, wouldn't be bothered or perturbed as much.
And she is the youngest, I believe.
Right.
Well, that gets a complicated question.
But the main thing is that she is also wise and smart beyond her years. And that's something that gets brought up here, is that just because, you know, she's getting, you know, frustrated by all these things doesn't mean that she's able to maintain her own internal state because of her environment being one that's in a little bit of chaos, which is, I think, is kind of a fun thing to point out, that is that there's areas where we as individuals, but also these characters, will have a little bit of dysfunction in their environment, but because it's not in this part of their environment, they kind of accept it. They're okay with it. And I feel like there's some pretty cool ways you can see that in how most of the characters in this show have dealt with their problems and stuff. So in this case, it's not about actually, like, you know, restoring your environment to some place of order. It's about you reacting properly to your environment so that you internally can be in a good state.
Right. That self-mastery kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like Araragi getting kind of like really honing in on the right angle for this rather quickly was something that just he knew because he's been through a lot of stuff. But also, I think in some ways the added emotion coming from Tsukihi allowed him to realize that the actual stuff she was frustrated by is not the real problem here.
Right. It wasn't about whether there was actually a ghost. It was the response from the people.
Yep.
And now, this might be a little bit reaching too far, right? But the stuff that we've seen from Tsukihi up until this point, one, hasn't been a lot. It hasn't been that much. Like, Tsukihi, as far as screen time goes,
is one on the lower end of things.
It's on the lower end of things, right?
It's a bummer, yeah.
Yeah. But in her interactions with people, especially with Araragi, it's something where she's trying to get those people to be honest with others and with themselves of where they're at, right?
True.
It was the same way with Nadeko.
Yeah.
And in some of the instances where she's gone to Araragi and wanted to make sure that he was doing okay, sometimes, you know, using some roundabout methods in order to get him to actually, like, open up. It was still along that sort of trail of thought. And that makes me wonder if the decision to have this be the thing that this, like, you know, Tsukihi just gets this one little bit here in Koyomi, right? And the thing that...
If she doesn't show up again.
Right?
Which, so far, the pattern is that they're if anything, lightly referencing back to other characters. Because we got to see Suruga again in this episode. So I think she could show up again.
Yes, but, like, for the focus of her individual story, it covers that same topic of how frustrated she gets when other people aren't honest with her, and that she specifically brings it up to Koyomi, her brother, who is someone that she has had trouble being honest with her before, and the way that he ends up resolving it is by telling a lie that is something, and she doesn't appreciate, you know, lies, but it's something that's for her benefit, so she's able to accept it, and she's able, and then there's the wink at the camera of accepting the lie, more of your lie, not their lie.
Right. And I think that is something that is really cool about this dynamic, is that the reason why she cared so much about the potential of them deceiving her, in my mind, is one, because this is a group or a club or a community of people that she spends a lot of time with, that she's, you know, connected with. She really cares about them. But if you were to compare that to her care and connection with Koyomi, with her brother, it's night and day.
Yep.
She cares probably way more about her brother than she does that. So the idea that he would then deceive her in this way, that she definitely saw through. Not only did she, like, wink at it, but then Suruga directly afterwards, like, wait, which lie did she buy? And it's like, okay, no, it's cool. We don't need to have the show literally tell us, but the show kind of literally told us.
Right.
So yeah, that's awesome. It's both is the answer. And so in this case here, her letting herself be okay with the delusion that the brother is pushing onto her to be like, hey, here's a way that you can look at this that will calm you down a little bit. she calms down, not because of the result of it, but because of the fact that he cared enough in order to do this specific thing. And this is, I would say, the part that frustrated younger Caleb as well, was realizing that when people do things, there are going to be things that they do that violate some aspect of your internal code or
sense of
justice or what have you. But you're never going to know exactly why they do it.
Right.
And this is the part that I find agonizingly frustrating, is that you will get a picture, though. You will, if you look closely, if you actually listen, you look clearly, you don't let yourself get, tossed aside by your emotions or what have you in that specific state. You will see a semblance, if you will, of why they do specific things. In this case, because of how much time was focused on just them interacting together, it was pretty easy to deduce, especially for someone as smart as Tsukihi, why Araragi was doing this.
Right.
He almost kind of told her by the way he was doing this.
Yeah.
So
they're doing this for you.
Right. He doesn't, she doesn't know necessarily that Suruga was involved in this. She doesn't know necessarily
about the mind shafts through the books.
Right, right. She doesn't know all the hows and the maybe even some of the deeper root causes of why, which aren't really relevant necessarily to her. But that is something that, while you might know why on a surface level, it's not your place necessarily to go in and poke as to why. So the fact that she accepts it without confronting him as a thing of being like, she's doing this for his sake. It's a thing that is not selfish. By her allowing her brother to have his lie there, she's making him feel great in that he helped her.
Right.
But if she breaks the illusion and then makes it a thing of like, I saw what you did there.
Right.
What does that gain? It doesn't necessarily gain anything in and of itself. It needs to be followed up then with a proper conversation, which he might not be ready or able to have in the best possible way. So it's a really cool dynamic,
which ties into the whole idea of, if she's this frustrated, her being frustrated by the other kids, I get that, right? And I'm sure she is quite frustrated. Why is she specifically showing to Koyomi just how frustrated she is?
Why isn't she talking to Karen?
Well, right. Yeah. I think it's because maybe she's specifically wanting to communicate to her brother in a way her brother will understand that she gets frustrated when things like this happen because she cares about the people.
Also the reason why she's coming to him specifically is because she respects him enough that she knows he can actually help her. Right. It's a way of showing value. When you come to someone with a vulnerability, with a problem, you're basically saying, hey, I came to you because I value you that much.
Right. So, her buying his lie, choosing to buy his lie, right? If she had spoken up about it and been like, yeah, that was totally a lie, but that's fine, I'll accept it. That might have made him be like, oh man, I kind of feel like my efforts weren't really, maybe valued as much, right? So then maybe, just maybe from all of this, and again, this is very lots of steps to this, but I think Tsukihi is that kind of person that makes all those kinds of connections and steps, in her very emotional brain. Maybe then her brother will start to trust her enough that when he's in a situation where he tells her another lie for her sake in order to make her feel good. Yeah. Because maybe he's not doing too well and she's trying to get him to open up about it. Maybe he'll actually realize,
Yeah,
I can rely on my sister a little bit.
That's something that I feel like has multiple levels of indirection, but it is something that might make sense for might make sense for this specific situation. In terms of the context of it, I think makes it lean that way. It's tricky because in some ways, Araragi in this instance here kind of showed how good he was doing. If anything, the fact that he was able to handle this so well shows actually how just good, like specifically, like he's able to, you know, do this. He's willing to go to Suruga and ask for help with this. He's willing to go and dig, you know, and get into the dirt of this thing and find, you know, maybe all the research of why he could do this, even though that's not necessarily needed. Like it doesn't necessarily like give him anything at the end of the whole thing here.
And it might not be something he's willing to do for himself.
Well, no, that's I'd say a bit too extrapolated. But like the main thing I think that's getting at here is that he ends up, when she asks for help, going above and beyond what's necessary in order to help her, which is admirable. And then Suruga is like, hey, there's a really easy way to solve this, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah.
The comedy in this episode was really good.
The comedy in this episode
just in general,
really good.
which
do you have any problems with lying to your sisters?
Absolutely not, right? Like, I mean, Suruga and Tsukiji both are they are fonts of comedy, right?
Yes, definitely.
So having both of them in the same episode, like, that's not surprising to me that there would be plenty of comedy to be had.
Suruga's line, but then I would end up finding maybe the 6 other girls.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, there's many problems with that line of thinking, Araragi. It's worth mentioning as you know, assumed as it is that of course it would be funny, right?
Right.
It's worth pointing out.
Yeah. And then of course the dramatic animation with regards to the ballpoint pen near stabbing.
Indeed. And the rapid clicking. Yeah.
Tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
Good stuff. But y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there, and any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep. Wrote a sci-fi novel that you definitely haven't heard of before. It's called Battle Lines. It's on Amazon. You know the drill. Link in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.